Lesson 6, how we die, I think, will make a huge difference to what happens to the future cost of healthcare systems. And we don't really quite know how people are going to die. I mean, is it, as life expectancy goes up and up, that people are going to live to be 100, 105, 110, but depressed and demented and arthritic and needing replacement of lenses and needing hearing aids? Or is it going to be that there is some kind of natural limit, the compression of morbidity as it's called, and people will, die when they're 85, 86 or whatever? I think the answer is we don't really quite know at the moment which is the case. But actually, I came across these encouraging data from the Stanford Center for Longevity, which shows death rates in people with different levels of education. And you can see that for people with low education, just up to 11 years, then there's really not much sign of the compression of morbidity, that people are dying throughout their lifetime. But as people are more educated, you can see the green, we begin to see the compression of morbidity, that people will remain healthy until late in their lives, but then still may be inclined to die at around 85. And actually, I think if this turns out to be the reality, that's going to be enormously encouraging. But I think the brutal truth is that at the moment, we don't quite know. I mean, if the professor who gave me this slide, I debated with her whether it was education or was it income or some other kind of measure related to social class. And she thought it was education that was really important. And if that's the case, I can hardly imagine a better argument for educating people more. And again, maybe we should think carefully about shifting funds from healthcare, from education to healthcare. Education, as again we've learned from global health, may be one of the best investments we can make for improving health. I think too we have to learn to think about death in a much more positive and different way. In the last year, I've read 5 books on death, and actually some of them I reviewed for the BMJ, if you want to read those reviews. And one of the people who impresses me the most is Montaigne, the 16th century Burgundian mayor of Bordeaux. His essays, which are extremely long, seem to be as relevant today as ever, and he feels very, very modern. And there's an argument that he and Shakespeare kind of invented, the modern sensibility. And one of his essays is called "To Philosophize is to Learn How to Die." It's a quote from Cicero, and then within that, here's a quote from him. He says, "And to begin to deprive him, death, of the greatest advantage he has over us, let us take away quite contrary to the common course. Let us disarm him of his novelty and strangeness. Let us converse and be familiar with him, and have nothing so frequent in our thoughts as death." So his argument is the way to deal with death is not to try and deny it, push it on one side, but actually to be conscious of it all the time. And I think we do have to change our attitudes to death.